Today, on the Comic Book Report, we'll be looking at the EC Archives Tales from the Crypt, Volume 1 in paperback. Stick around and don't miss out. And welcome to Comics by Night. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dominic, and you are watching the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. All month long, we'll be doing our salute to darker, more edgy horror comics during our Comics by Night event, which brings us right to today, where we'll be doing an unboxing for the Tales from the Crypt Volume 1 from EC Archives, their paperback editions. So sit right back and let's go ahead and do this unboxing. Before I forget, let's go ahead and give a general spoiler warning. I haven't read the contents of this book, but I will be flipping through the collection more or less entirely. So if you don't want the visuals spoiled for you, you've been warned. Now, let's get on with our show. Alright, and right from the jump, you can probably tell I ordered from Amazon.com. And while I do love Amazon, I probably don't have to tell any other collectors out there that their shipping can sometimes be dubious at best. And this here is a great example. This comic is coming in this floppy, lightly bubbled bag, which concerns me. Is this book being bent or beat up unnecessarily? I guess we'll find out. And huzzah! It looks from my initial inspection here that we are in good shape. I don't see any damage, superficial or otherwise. That's great news. I'm so excited to take a look at today's collection. First thing I'm really noticing though, and it's probably because I'm not overly vigilant looking at the Amazon listing, is that this is an unusual size. Here it is next to my standard size Oblivion Song trade paperback. As you can see, it definitely is a bit oversized. And next, I'm going to go ahead and set it up next to my oversized hardcover of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. Just be in mind that these are the same dimensions as an omnibus, so you can get an idea of where Tales from the Crypt still stands. As you might be able to tell, it's almost exactly the same length as my oversized hardcover. It's just a little bit wider out the end, so these are big books, big and wide. Alright, let's go ahead and open it up here. As you can see, we got some great early book artwork here, good titles, an awesome table of contents that includes all the story segments as well as when these issues were initially published, and of course a foreword by John Carpenter. Now, I haven't had a chance to jump in and read any of this yet, but I'm very impressed by the setup and whole layout of this book so far. All of the issues reprinted for this collection were published initially in the early 1950s. And wow, look at the beautiful spread and the colors. I love this format. You definitely feel the extra room. I should note as well, these issues appear to be recolored differently than their initial publication, but it's in line with what the EC Archives are trying to present, that while still being faithful to the originals, but I think that they have definitely been touched up. And I personally feel that the aesthetic of this overall volume is just jaw-droppingly beautiful. I'd like to mention as well that this Volume 1 includes The Crypt of Terror, issues 17 through 19, and Tales from the Crypt, issues 20 through 22. This constitutes the beginning of the Tales from the Crypt series, and while only 6 issues can sound a bit discouraging, these are pretty full issues, with each one having about 5 or 6 stories each. I can tell you already, I regret missing out on the hardcover versions of these collections, but by the time I had heard about them, they were already mostly out of print, or all had over $50 price tag attached to them, which was a bit too steep for what I was looking to pay. But these paperbacks, I believe the MSRP is about $19.99, so of course got it a little bit cheaper on Amazon, which to me was such a great deal. I can't wait to jump in and read. And again, I haven't read the stories themselves yet, but it's hard to get past the artwork. I love the character models, the colors jump off the page, and they scream to me of a vintage comic. When I think comic, this is the golden age, folks. And I feel the same as I flip through this collection as I do when I watch any of the old Universal horror monster movies, you know, like your Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman. That same feeling I get, even though those obviously predate this, I feel that old school horror. And frankly, I enjoy it, because the terror isn't too much, but you get a nice sense of eeriness and mood. And I love the art. It's so detailed and so lifelike. One other feature I'd really like to comment on for these collections themselves that I do not see as a collector very often in reprints and these trades or hardcover collections, and that is their advertising or promotional pages. I love getting to see and read the old ad copy or some of the other books or products that these used to sell in the pages. I know we're usually lucky enough with the old Silver Age Marvel omnibuses to get the letters pages, but I rarely, if ever, see advertisements reprinted, and it really does make these feel even more like some kind of time capsule. What joy I'm gonna have just looking at what they offered and just to see what these things look like at the times these were printed in the 50s. I know another thing that just drew me to this collection is I love anthologies, guys. I love reading short story collections. I love reading little vignettes of different things. And growing up, I enjoyed the Tales from the Crypt HBO series. I loved watching things as well with my dad, like Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits. And some of these other fantastical, sci-fi, or horror anthology series. It always makes me feel like I get more bang for my buck, so to speak, to read all of these little stories, and feeling like if I don't like one, well hey, maybe the next one will be great. And I'm eager to see how the comic book translates to that. I'm curious as well if this bears any resemblance to the HBO series that I first heard about this franchise through, or if, as I suspect, this is its own unique monster. At any rate, I'm really looking forward to getting in a cozy chair and setting the lights down low and breaking into this collection. I know too that EC Archives is planning to release a lot more of these paperback editions. I believe The Vault of Horror Volume 1 is already released. And if I like this, honestly, I might go ahead and have to check that out. I'm curious as well about EC's series Weird Science. If any of you watching this have read any of these EC Archives editions and have thoughts, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Or, if further down the line you'd be interested in me doing a fuller review covering the plot of a lot of these issues, let me know about that in the comments as well. And as we're now approaching the end of this 216-page trade paperback collection, all I can say is I sincerely hope you've enjoyed taking a look at Tales from the Crypt, the EC Archives, Volume 1, and the astonishing artwork contained within, as much as I have. Once again, my name is Dominic, and this has been The Comic Book Report. We have new comic reviews every Wednesday, and if you haven't already, give us a subscribe and check out some of our other videos. And if you want, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our content, particularly through the month of October, where we'll be celebrating all things Halloween. Until next time, good night.